Today I'm going to show you how to exploit the player to use these kingside Fianchetto structures by using their worst fear against them, and that is a very quick h4, h5, h6, and we're going to see how they fall apart incredibly quickly. So we're going to start off today by looking at e4 and g6, the modern defence. Now what we're going to do later is use these exact same ideas to also have a look at the Pirc defence. So we'll come back to that one a little bit later. But for now, we're going to say our opponent played g6, we're going to play d4. And one of the reasons we're starting with d4 in this idea is because ultimately we want to try and launch our h pawn all the way to h6, and in some lines we may appreciate this extra support from our bishop to allow ourselves to do that. And in any case, d4 is objectively the best move here, so there's no harm in starting with d4. Now, I want to start at the 1000 level in the Lee Chess database and go through the most common moves and show you exactly how and why our opponents are falling apart so incredibly quickly in this variation. So most common move here, of course, is bishop g7. That's the same at all levels. Now, we're going to start with h4 immediately, and we're asking our opponent a question here. We are saying, do you know how to deal with a flank attack in chess in general? Do you know that you're supposed to counter-strike in the centre? And the answer overwhelmingly up to at least the 2000 level is no, they don't know the answer to that. So what is the most common move here? Well, I want you to appreciate again the psychology of someone who's playing these modern defences and these Pirc defences. They have a very specific structure in mind that they are going for in most cases. They are probably wanting to play d6 at some point so that they can prepare the move knight f6 and being less worried about the move e5 because they've got a pawn ready to take that, and then they want to castle kingside. So what do you think their most common move is here at the 1000 level? Overwhelmingly, it's the move d6, and it's not even appearing in the top 5 recommended moves by the engine. After d6, white is borderline already winning here. They're much better. We're just going to play h5 immediately. If they're going to allow us to do it, we're just going to push the h pawn as far down the board as we possibly can in most lines. Now, again, their most common move here, even if, by the way, even if they don't move this knight now, we are able to still to push h6 because we've opened up this bishop's line to support that move. But their most common move here, overwhelmingly, is knight f6 just because they're in autopilot mode. They have a setup that they intend to go for, and what they don't want to do is stop at every point along the way and ask themselves questions. How am I supposed to adapt my setup based on my opponent's most recent moves? Again, that requires time and energy. The reason they like to play these setup openings is so they don't have to think in the opening. And so typically that's what happens here. They refuse to think and they just play their normal stuff. We continue down the board, h6, obviously they go back to f8, and that's stage 1 of our typical plan. Stage 2 of our plan is to appreciate we have compromised our kingside pawn structure a little bit by moving this h pawn up the board, and therefore we're going to want to castle queenside. Now, the first stage of that is to develop our queenside pieces, so our knight, our bishop, and our queen. The first stage of this is very obvious. They're attacking our e pawn at the moment, so we may as well develop our knight, get ourselves closer to castling queenside, and defend that pawn at the same time. Now, in our last video against the Caro-Kann, I kind of talked about this anxiety that people feel when they play chess, when something is kind of oppressing their position. And that is exactly what our opponents feel about this pawn on h6 in their half of the board, restricting their development. They want their bishop to be on g7 in this structure, so they want that pawn gone. The most common move here, as crazy as it may seem, is actually knight to g4. At this 1000 level, they're so concerned about this pawn being here, they are just attacking it at all costs, and they're not even stopping to ask themselves if they have enough attackers versus defenders. I mean, we have a bishop and a rook defending that. They now have 2 attackers. They're not actually threatening anything. That is how blind they are to their kind of anxiety. A pawn in their half of the board, I want to attack it. I'm not even stopping to think if it works or not. All we can do here, we could play f3 and kick the knight and force it to do the bad move that it wants to do, or we could attack it with bishop e2. Slightly prefer this because it develops a piece, but either way, their most common move here is knight takes, completely forgetting that we're already defending it and the game is over. This is the most common line at that 1000 level. It's completely crazy. So one thing I want to do in this video is slowly move up through the different levels in the lead chess database for our opponents and show you how they're slowly increasing their resistance to our idea and how we can still punish them and exploit them. I want to skip ahead now to the 1400 level and come back to this position where we've just played knight c3 to defend our pawn on e4. And the most common move here still at the 1400 level is knight g4, trying to attack that pawn. But the difference this time is after we played bishop e2, now the players are starting to realise, oh wait, that pawn is actually defended, my plan's not working. And they do go back to f6. So how are we going to exploit the players at this 1400 level who are doing this? They're noticing their knight can't take on h6, they're coming back to f6. We're going to carry on with our normal plan. We're going to play bishop g5, anticipating once again that what they want to do eventually is play e5 and just walk into this pin, and they won't be able to help themselves. Now, typical thing in these structures is black will develop their queenside knight to one of these squares. At this level, they're able to wait with e5 a little bit more. They show a little bit more restraint. So the most common is knight c6. We carry on with our normal plan. We're slowly getting ready to castle queenside, and it's at this point at 1400 that the players crack and they play e5. Now, how do we exploit this? Because it's already game over. Typically, when we're in an attacking position like this, we don't want to trade queens, but here we can recognise that the queen is the only defender of this pinned piece. So here, trading queens would equate to removing the defender, and hence a tactic. That is why we do want to trade here on e5, and this usually we wouldn't do this in a flank attack position, but here there's a tactical reason for it, because they can't recapture with the pawn. They have to recapture with the knight, and that's going to allow us to play f4 and eventually try and push the move e5, attacking the pin piece and winning the game. So for example here, I'll just go through the computer best moves. Knight e back to d7, we get to play e5, and you can see from here we're going to win a piece. The game is already over. We're at the 1600 level now. We've just played knight c3, defending our pawn on e4, and now finally our opponents are realising that this move knight g4 does not lead anywhere. They're not actually threatening our pawn on h6, and so now the most common move is knight to c6. What are we going to do here? Exactly the same thing. We are going to try to castle queenside, and we're going to anticipate that our opponents will want to play the move e5 at some point, walking into this pin. And this is not just a hope chess move. This bishop to g5 move is still the second best move in the position, and we still have a winning position here, even if they don't play e5. We're going to talk about that later. Now, obviously at the 1600 levels, our opponents are far too strong to be playing e5 here and just walking into the pin directly. So the most common move here is e5, and we have a winning position. Once again, for tactical reasons, we do want to open up the d-file, trade the queens and remove the defender of the knight, which is why they have to recapture with the knight here. And it's exactly the same tactic we saw before. We play f4 and we're getting ready to force through the move e5, attacking the pin piece and winning the game. So now we're at the 1800 level. We've just played knight c3 again. Once again, they're playing knight c6 typically, and we play bishop g5, kind of trying to exploit this idea that they want to play that move e5 at some point, and they're going to walk into a pin. Now, the most common move here again, even at 1800, is still e5, and we still have all the same tactics, and we're going to win in exactly the same way. So finally, we're at the 2000 level. We've played d4, black plays bishop g7, but this time after h4. Now we're at a level where black is able to stop, ask themselves, what has my opponent just played? What is the idea behind it? How do I need to adapt in order to deal with this? And that is really the difference between these players below 2000 and that 2000 level, and hopefully you're starting to see that now. The most common move here is h5. They are recognising that they cannot allow us to push that pawn down the board. Now, h5 from their perspective is not a move they intended to play when they started with this setup, but they are adaptable. They have realised that because we have done something unusual, they might need to do something unusual in response, something they weren't prepared to do, but they are able to adapt to the situation. So now that they've stopped this kind of phase one of our plan, stage two of our plan is still going to be exactly the same. We're going to look to develop our queenside pieces and castle queenside. So knight c3 is most common. d6, now that they've stopped our initial plan, now they can get back to their typical original setup that they intended. Again, we can play bishop g5. It doesn't hit a knight at the moment, but we're still thinking that knight plans to come to f6. Maybe they'll play e5 in the future and walk into those same tricks. Most common here, knight f6 still fine at the moment. We play queen d2. We're continuing with that same idea. We're going to castle queenside, and we're going to switch into tactics when they make the mistake, if they make the mistake. Their most common move here is c6. Now, this is where you really see that difference at that higher level. They are understanding that they can't just play a move like e5 and walk into a pin on their knight. They're instead looking for counter attacking chances, and they're starting a queenside pawn storm because they are recognising that we are clearly looking to castle queenside. So you kind of see this difference in the way our opponent's thinking. They're not just thinking about their setup and what move they want to play, they're also looking at what we're doing and trying to anticipate what we're doing. And it's really this skill at that high level, that ability to anticipate what your opponent wants to do. We can carry on with the same plan regardless. We castle queenside, their move is b5. So notice we are pushing pawns and attacking on the king side, so they're delaying castling kingside. We are hitting their knight on g5, so they are delaying the move e5, not wanting to walk into a pin. They're aware of what we're trying to do. Now, what I would say here is we have a video in our red flag series about these kind of pawn storms against our castle king, and typically the way to react to this pawn storm that's coming against our king, which is on the queen side, is to look, where is the opponent's king? The opponent's king is currently in the centre of the board, so we would want to react to this by opening the centre of the board so we can try to get to their king first before they get to our king. Now, the move e5 straight away here is still a fine move, but the queens are going to get traded. It's going to lead into a very kind of equal, typically drawn position with no real attack for either side. What I would slightly prefer to do for that reason is play f3 now, and I'm anticipating that my opponent's going to castle kingside at some point, and this move f3 is going to help me prepare the kingside pawn storm with the move g4 later. Might need to prepare that move, maybe not, but that's the idea behind it. Now, black's most common move here is actually queen a5. They're continuing with this idea that they want to be attacking us on the queen side. So now there is a little bit of a difference. Now I'm looking at this pawn storm coming towards our castle king, and I'm looking at where their castle king is, and I want to open the centre, but now it's not going to lead to a queen exchange. So now, principally, based on that idea, this is starting to feel to me like this is the move I want to play. Now, this is the best move here, and it is winning for white, but it's complicated. So once you're at this level, this is the kind of variation I'd like you to kind of study for yourselves and try to figure out why these tactics are working. We can play the move e5 here, and it's complete chaos. But as an example, I'll just show you the most common moves here, the most common continuation. Black continues with b4, and this is very typical in these kind of pawn storm situations where time is so important, and very often you'll see these top players ignoring the opponent's threats and just continue with their own. It's like a race. You're trying to kill your opponent before they kill you. We take on f6. I'm just showing the most common line here. They take on c3. And now we play what I first thought was a really surprising move. Queen takes c3, and I thought it's very strange that we're looking for a queen exchange here, but the idea is brilliant. After they take on c3, we don't take the queen back straight away. We play pawn takes bishop, threatening to take the rook and get a new queen, and realising their queen and rook have absolutely nothing to do to stop it. Their queen can't escape us taking them on the next move. They just don't have time. In fact, black's best move here, according to the engine, is queen takes d4. They're just accepting that queen has to be lost. We recapture. They finally get to move the rook, and we've got a couple of ideas now. We can play bishop h6, cementing that pawn in. We could play rook e4 first, threatening to take on e7. They probably have to move that pawn realistically first, and then we get to play something like, let's say, yeah, we can play bishop h6 now, cementing that pawn in. But this isn't something I want you to memorise. This is the point where we play the move e5 in this place. This is the kind of position I'd like you to study. Just like to finish off today by making a point about skipping directly ahead to this 2500 level. After our opponents play h5, and we carry on with all the typical stuff, so knight c3, they play d6, we play bishop g5, getting ready to castle queenside. Even here, they don't even play knight f6 straight away, they just get straight on with their attack with c6, queen d2, b5, castles queenside. And I just want to make the point here, even at this 2500 level, there's nothing objectively suspicious about the opening we've played here. The move h4 very early on was not objectively absolutely best, but it was still a good move. It was still in the top few moves according to the engine, and white still wasn't worse after playing h4. Even in this position right here, objectively speaking, completely equal position, but still white has a 56% win rate to black's 44, even at that 2500 level. So there's nothing unsound about this opening. It's still going to perform well all the way up through the levels as far as your chess career kind of takes you. I just want to show you one typical line here against the Pirc defence after d6 and how you could try to use all of these kind of same ideas. Now you can start with d4, and once again we are waiting for our opponent to commit to the move g6 before we're looking to commit to the move h4, so it may take a little bit longer here. The most common move is knight f6. They play d6 first to kind of help them play knight f6 to kind of control this e5 push. We are getting our e4 pawn attack, so we're just reordering our moves and our ideas and our plans. So playing knight c3 first, we're starting that queenside castling idea, and we'll switch over to that h4 pawn push later once they commit to the move, which they do straight away with g6. Now I'm looking here just at the 1000 to 2000 level, just going to look at one most common line. And again here we can just play h4 immediately. Now the most common move is bishop g7. And here it's very interesting actually, because they've managed to play knight f6 a lot faster in this Pirc defence, they're actually controlling this square enough and stopping us from playing h5, objectively speaking. Now it's funny here because the kind of best performing move from white here is just to play h5 anyway. And after they take the pawn with the knight, not wanting to damage their structure, actually going in for this exchange sacrifice with rook takes, pawn takes and queen takes. Now I'm a little bit hesitant to recommend this because objectively this is not great. I think it's minus 0.7, so it's not hugely better for black, but it is winning in practice 57% of the time for white and 40% for black. So this is very uncomfortable for black. It is a little bit objectively suspicious, so you can experiment with this. Another way you could approach this, a lot more solid way, going back to here, if you can't play h5 straight away, you could, a second option is to be really stubborn about it and say, well, I want to play g4 so I can play h5. I can't play g4 straight away, so I want to play f3 first. So one way to go about this could be f3 followed by castles, followed by g4. The most common move here is e5. Now, as a rule of thumb, unless there's a tactical reason for it, we are attacking on the flank, therefore we want the centre of the board to stay closed. When we're attacking on the flank, black should want to open the centre and counter-attack in the centre. So even though taking that pawn on e5 is objectively okay, I think more principled would be to close the centre with d5 and then continue our flank attack from there. Most common move here is c6, and we can now continue with our plan of just kind of pushing things on the king side and going for h5. We don't mind if they ever take that pawn on d5, because look what happens here after we take with the knight. The most common move for black is to recapture with the knight, and all that's happened here is we are attacking on the king side and we have traded off one of black's most critical kingside defenders, their knight from f6. So from here, white is slightly better, and I'd expect it to perform really well because this is just really uncomfortable for black. We've got this pawn still coming up the board. They typically continue with knight to c6, and we've got options from here. We could push the pawn at some point, we could take this and open the file, we could get ready to castle queenside. Loads of options here. You're going to perform really well in practice. So what's the idea in this video? We're going to play e4, and after they play g6, it might be immediately, it might be a little bit later, we're going to take the whole centre with d4, and we're just going to be really direct. We're just going to try to shove our h-pawn as far up the board as possible. Maybe we need to support it with f3 and g4, maybe not. In a lot of cases, they're just going to allow us to get this all the way to h6, make their position really uncomfortable. We're going to follow up that idea. We're trying to castle queenside like this, and then just going from there, typically exploiting the fact that our opponents will play e5 at some point as well, walking into a deadly pin. If you want to explore some of those red flag ideas that we talked about in this video about pawn storms, we have a red flag playlist. We have a video about that there. If you want to explore how I'm exploiting other typical openings from black against the move e4, we have a playlist dedicated to that as well. You can see it in the description.